So anyway, let's crack on. This first one here, Matt Hancock plans to frighten the pants off everyone. Now, and this is a direct quote. He did say that, frighten the pants off people. So was fear used as a deliberate manipulative strategy in the pandemic? If so, that would really concern me, because we want to be able to give people objective information. I often got things wrong, but I still do get things wrong, but I try to give objective information as much as I can based on the information at my disposal. Whereas, as I said, these guys had a lot more information available. So Matt Hancock plans to frighten the pants off everyone about COVID. How the Health Secretary hoped to shock public into complying with ever-changing lockdown rules is the headline. Now, this is basically the leak of these exchanges. So, Secretary of State for Health, have you seen the Darze survey? Now, this was the Imperial College London React study, which was actually showing that things were getting quite a bit better at the time. But did that quite fit the narrative? So Patrick Vallance, Chief Scientific Officer, said he'd take a look at it. Matt Hancock, just done presumably a press release, where the media interest was only on the gloomy Cambridge survey. But if we want people to behave themselves, maybe that's not a bad thing. So focusing on a gloomy survey with increasing cases, because at the time it was very localised, wasn't it? There'd be increasing cases in one part of the country and not in another part of the country. And then the Chief Scientific Officer actually says this: agree, suck up their miserable interpretations and over-deliver. Is over-deliver another way of saying don't give the truth objectively? You can interpret that with whatever word you would like to use. But that's what he said. That's the direct quote there. Suck up their miserable interpretations and over-deliver. Does this over-delivery veer into things which are untrue? Well, one would certainly hope not. This is the Chief Scientific Officer we're talking about, the one who worked for GlaxoSmithKline and cashed in quite a few shares from GlaxoSmithKline during the pandemic. Not that I'd influenced him at all. Questions to answer here, isn't there? Really, questions to answer. I need to meet the scientists who is at the same Oxford College I was. In the UK we call this the old boys network. It stinks, you know. Mates from college, old school Thai old boy.
And now for something completely different.
Really easy. Divide and conquer can only work if the people that are divided are not aware of the falsely created division. If you're not aware of it, then it works. If you know about it, then it don't work no more. If you have socialism without capitalism, it becomes communism. If you have capitalism without socialism, it becomes fascism. And it's just that easy. I love you. That's all you need to know. That's why Masonic symbols are all over your freaking money. But you don't pay any attention.
Former Labour Prime Minister Tony Blair and former Conservative Party leader William Hague have come together to jointly advocate for the UK to roll out digital IDs. Writing in the Times newspaper, they called for a digital ID for every citizen, a national health infrastructure that uses data to improve care and keep costs down, and sovereign AI systems backed up by supercomputing capabilities. In other words, everything that you need to know about our bodies and our lives, all on a microchip. Now, digital IDs are a controversial technology that allow people to prove their identity using information stored on an app. Despite small-scale uses, digital IDs are not universally accepted in the country in the same way that passports and driver's licenses are. Blair and Hague are keen to change this, arguing that a government-approved digital ID card scheme would allow easier access to public services. But is this kind of technology a step too far and a threat to our basic freedoms and civil liberties? To debate this, we're hoping to be joined by political pundit and writer James Melville. But first, a good friend of the show, Labour councillor Fatima Camara. Hi, Fatima.
Hi, good evening, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Good to have you back on the show. Do we really want to have these digital IDs? It sounds like something out of George Orwell's 1984. I'm not sure I want the state knowing that much about me.
I think, Mark, what I would say is, in your intro, you mentioned about Tony Blair and also Hague putting this report forward in terms of recommendation. And what we must really just kind of stress, it's a report. It's a proposal. I think it's not set in stone, definitely because of the issues that we've had as the UK in terms of taking on board the notion of a digital national ID. The history behind it can also actually easily glare people up to think, no, this is not what I want, and rightfully so. I believe that with everything, there has to be due process and intelligence that needs to go with it. I believe that the report that Tony Blair and Hague have put together it's not set in stone. It's open for discussions. There are a lot of things that we need to think about in terms of GDPR. There are lots of things motions that would need to go through to Parliament and things like that. The only thing that I would have to add to that is that, there's certainly, we all do have digital footprint, that we willingly, one way or the other, giving out details, on social media or such like, which we have voluntarily given out our information to. I think the way that we're moving in terms of, keeping track of numbers of, for example, illegal immigration, people coming into the country, and also security of the nation. I think there's certainly a place for us to have a database that would hold certain information so we're able to plan, we're able to have the right system and infrastructures in place, both in the UK and also on a local level as well. In terms of the report, I would just say it's a report, it's not set in stone, but obviously I do understand how that makes people feel.
OK, well, let's bring in political pundit and writer, a man that's won a legion of fans in the course of the pandemic, speaking up for our freedoms. It's James Melville. We're having a little bit of trouble with the line to James. James, I hope you haven't been got at by the deep state.
Not yet, no, but this is Cornwall, so, all kinds of things of communication problems will happen in Cornwall.
What do you think about these digital IDs? Fatima Camara says it's only a consultation, and really it's just a convenient way of having your medical information and your benefits and a couple of other important NHS details all in one place.
Whenever I hear the words security, safety, and convenience, I question it. I'm not some sort of technological Luddite. I think, technology is the way the world moves forward. But I do have a problem when the likes of Tony Blair, who's effectively been wanging on about digital ID for 20 years, then appears, now unelected Tony Blair, to say that this is in our best interests. The problem with this is, where does it stop? I'm not saying we end up like China with social credit systems, but it does raise the possibility of a gateway towards that if we end up having a system of digital ID that is wrapped around a number of different areas, whether that be, we've seen it before with vaccine passports, that was effectively digital ID and illiberal discrimination, and we're seeing it with central bank digital currencies. There's pilot schemes around the world on that, and there's consultation documents within the UK government on that. Digital ID can be useful in certain things, but not when it's a data harvest, or it raises the prospect of government control and also surveillance. And so therefore, if you go down this path, it has to be scrutinised. We have to hold the government's feet to the fire, and there has to be certain restrictions from our side. And what I would say is that maybe based on the bad government, why are the government asking these questions to us? We own the government, they don't own us. So perhaps the best form of digital ID would be us to get digital ID to monitor the behaviour of our politicians and government, so we know where our tax money is actually being spent.
The worry I've got, Fatima, is the potential for state tyranny over the citizen. James just touched on it. If we'd had these digital IDs during the pandemic, we could have properly enforced a two-tier society, the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Things could have reached Canadian proportions, with people having their bank accounts frozen for being critical of lockdowns or not having the jab. That's the problem with this technology.
Mark, I think that I'm just preempting that I don't think that would be the case, but also not saying that that cannot happen. If we look at our neighboring country, as in Estonia, when if you're born in Estonia, you're actually given a national ID, and that works with you right through. Do you know what I mean? It helps with the planning. It helps with so many things that needs to happen in terms of getting the information online, getting them registered for prescription, and all of that. It makes it a seamless process. And I take on board the sort of anxieties and also the notion that why would someone want to know everything about me? Do you know what I mean? About what I do, what I eat, where I go, my passport details and all of that. But I do also believe that segments of these are already registered willingly by ourselves. But I think what the most important thing is actually the public having the say to actually dictate the sort of information that would be on this card, and if that comes to that point. But also, that is why with everything else, there's consultation. It's not imposed on us, as people are saying. I want to believe that there's going to be an aspect of consultation, and the public would be able to have a say to say, this is what we want, and this is what, we don't want our details, all of our details in just one national ID that carries everything that we carry around with us just because the government says so.
OK, James Melville, final thoughts on this, because I think if this technology was in the hands of someone like Fatima Kamara, we'd be fine, because Fatima has a conscience and an intellect and some empathy. But I'm worried about this kind of technology falling into the hands of a future authoritarian regime.
I agree. I mean, we've been down this path before with the COVID response. It started with 3 weeks to flatten the curve, and we end up with vaccine passports around the auspice of digital ID. And also it's about the communities who will be disregarded by digital ID. A large percentage of our elderly population are not online. So what happens to them? It's impossible to enforce across the whole country. I agree there's certain aspects of digital ID that make everyone's life easier, but there's certain aspects of digital ID that make people's life restricted. And I do worry, as I said at the start, whenever government, under the auspice of consultation, say that it's for our convenience, that raises a lot of questions. We're currently getting a lot of legislation that's bubbling under the radar that are around digital ID. And so and most of the public don't even know about this. I've got a major concern for central bank digital currencies. That when we lose, for instance, aspects of financial freedom by financial transaction, that's a major, major problem, and the government should have no control over that. Our government is fundamentally there to serve us and free us up. But at the moment, we're getting governments around the world, it's not just in the UK, who seem to be using the wraparound of digital ID by claiming it's for our safety and our convenience. But actually, we don't know where that will end up. It's very vague at the moment. It's very ambiguous. I've read the documentation in terms of consultation exercises around digital ID and central bank digital currencies. But it does open a gateway to other problems. What else will they bolt hole into this? And so we have to be very, very careful that we don't end up in a situation. I'm not saying we end up like China, but it does offer the potential of a gateway towards that predicament. And that is not in keeping with what I think the UK is about, a liberal and free society.
James, thank you for joining us live from Cornwall. Enjoy a nice bubbly pint of Sharp's Atlantic Pale Ale on me. And may I also thank Labour councillor, regular on Mark Dolan tonight, Fatima Kamara. A fascinating debate. Your reaction, digital ID, convenient or state tyranny? Mark at gbnews.uk.
This is also new. It's not new. I realize that nothing we've been doing is new. We haven't been tapping into new areas of the brain. We've just been awakening the most ancient. This technology is simply a route to powers that conjurers and alchemists used centuries ago.
We're seeing an exponential growth in our machines and innovations as technology surpasses and exceeds our limitations. Implications could be serious. In many past and present futurists have been warning us for years about the consequences. Massive repercussions. We see the evidence, dependence on our internet and phones and games and televisions, losing independence. As we immerse ourselves in working all our fingers to the bones for corporations, we give them back our paychecks for the latest and the greatest plastic upgrades, name brand products and replacements, and build their databases. Investing hours of our own free time uploading information used against us to target us with market advertising toward our interests. Collecting information used to monitor our senses, correcting anyone who won't comply or be connected. How long before a mandatory microchips injected? It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. Or will it rise as a time of robophobia? It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. Or will it rise as a time of robophobia? It's an emerging type insurgence, converging and merging and churning, slowly bursting to the surface. It's concerning every person and confirming every warning. The disturbing thought we're working toward a single mind that's merging and converting us to downloadable versions of ourselves inside a full immersion, universal simulated virtual reality, where every living earthling's neural pathways are inspected mandatorily and connected using voice to skull telepathy, absorbing data fingerprints to play us back like instruments, manipulating us just like we're puppets of ventriloquists, remote controlling human beings like Ouija boards, coursing through the veins of circuit boards, record the sound of every vocal cord, moving exponentially towards a singularity. Eventually we won't distinguish magic from technology, and robots will unplug from electricity, no longer using batteries but powered like a golem using alchemy. It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. Or will it rise as a time of robophobia? It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. Or will it rise as a time of robophobia? So they manipulate genetically our DNA collectively, infecting every living organism and directing every intersecting thought and every memory and vision, inspecting our opinions and collecting our decisions. A digital technocracy emerging as philosophy, inserting thought police patrols and mind control technology, removing private property, enforcing thought bureaucracy, reducing every freedom and pursuit of life and liberty, consistently expanding demanding all their terms and their conditions, with minimum requirements and maximum restrictions, creating unknown problems to offer fake solutions, to complicate the system till there's nothing but confusion, depicting anyone who won't conform as unacceptable, demanding everyone to all agree and not be skeptical, eventually connecting every mind from every nation, fulfilling prophecies from Genesis to Revelation.
It's the age-old lie, the promise of utopia, the carrot on the stick, the empty cornucopia, technological hive mind dystopia. What will arise is a time of robophobia.
Even with all these new abilities, there are dangers. Human race lost that knowledge, and now I'm reclaiming it through virtual reality. You're moving too fast.
You understand politics, you think you understand political parties, you're all full of crap, you don't know what the Illuminati is, if you're Republican or you're Democrat, you're wrong! Why? It's this easy, it's called divide and conquer. That's why there's two parties and only two, and they're controlled by the same people at the very top who belong to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberger Group, they also belong to the Trilateral Commission, and you people don't even know what the hell that is. But if you did know, you would know that these are the people that control your world by making global policies that you never vote on, and by which parties both serve and belong to these organizations and control your world.
All float down here, and you will too. They all float. They all float.
Now, here's how it works. Really easy. Divide and conquer can only work if the people that are divided are not aware of the falsely created division. If you're not aware of it, then it works. If you know about it, then it don't work no more. If you have socialism without capitalism, it becomes communism. If you have capitalism without socialism, it becomes fascism. And it's just that easy. I love you. That's all you need to know. That's why Masonic symbols are all over your freaking money. But you don't pay any attention. Ridiculous.
All float down here, and you will too.